You are now tuned in to the Cosmic Convos podcast, your number one source for accurate, relevant, and thought-provoking astrological conversations in the podcast nation, the place where stars and minds align.
Peace. You are now tuned into the Cosmic Convos podcast. I'm your humble host, Herut, and I got my good brother here, Brother Ra. How you doing?
Brother, just living, learning, and applying. How about yourself, King?
Hey, man, like I always say, man, just, maintaining and trying to get like you, man. Trying to get my skills up, man.
Hey, brother, steel sharpens steel. Steel sharpens steel, definitely.
Indeed. But before we get too far, I want to remind you all that this episode is brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group and Caliprucia Astrology and our patrons over there on Patreon. Big shout out to our patrons over there. Thank you all for what you guys bring to the table and everything like that. Yeah, I mean, the patrons been giving some good feedback lately or whatnot, man. So we definitely appreciate that. And before I give all the how to get contact us, all that information and stuff like that, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on Facebook, make sure that you follow us on Facebook, like it, share this on your timelines and your Facebook groups and all that different stuff like that. And hit that notification bell so you can know, when we dropping stuff, right? But you can find us, Cosmic Convos, on Instagram at Cosmic Convo. That's CosmicConvo on Instagram. There you hit up our link tree and you can get the link to all the different platforms that we're on. You can find us on the web where you can get your chart and everything like that. And you also have the information to get in contact with Brother Rod too, if you're trying to, get that consultation hooked up or whatnot. But Rod, could you tell the people how to get a hold of you?
Yeah, Caliprucia Astrology at Gmail is definitely a hot spot. And then also you can hit me up on IG or Facebook via Shechem Ra.
Nice and smooth, nice and easy, right?
Nice and easy.
Indeed. So, here we are, episode 10, season 3, episode 60 overall, man. We're making good strides, man. How you feel about that?
Yeah, that's a nice round number, huh? 60.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it's been a nice journey so far. I mean, a lot of nice feedback. It's phenomenal that you talk about the number 60 because today we're going to be talking about Hebrew, and 60 in Hebrew is samek, right? Which is a circle, which is a complete circuit, right? So it's interesting that this is the 60th episode, and we've made a quite a bit of a circuit with regards to these shows.
Absolutely. I mean, didn't even really do that on purpose, but when you in sync, right?
Indeed.
Piggybacking off the last episode, we had some Patreon comments and stuff like that. Everybody liked it for sure. We did have one of our patrons or whatnot, said that we probably should have did Wayne Williams, right? Because he actually, had an encounter with him during that time period, and his opinion's a little different or whatnot. I'm not gonna say who it was, but they definitely reached out had said that, you know, we may want to look into Wayne Williams' chart. And I did look, and I did see there's a time out there for him. You know,
Okay.
so I don't know. Maybe we can do a show.
Yeah,
You know,
let's look into that.
yeah. You know, so we'll, you know, to that brother, you know who you are. We're definitely gonna look into that and you know, explore that some more and probably be able to come up with a show off of that and whatnot. Because that's recently came back in the news, you know, in the last year or so. Because you know, they made a new kind of like mini series on it and stuff like that. So yeah, it was an interesting time, man. I was I mean, before my time, but you know, I've heard about it, you know, major, and how big of an impact, you know, that had just in the country, how people, you know, all these kids getting snatched up and stuff like that, not finding them.
I lived in Atlanta at the time.
Oh, really?
Yep. I lived in that neighborhood, in the neighborhood that was happening.
Indeed. What was that like, man? What was, you know, was everybody on
Well, the
lockdown or?
neighborhood that we lived in, I can't remember the name of it, but I know it was known for a lot of witchcraft, um, a lot of yeah, I can tell you some crazy stories as a kid living in that neighborhood. But especially in the apartments that we lived in. But I can't, you know, if I get the name of it, I'll bring it up again. But um, that neighborhood was right predominantly filled with, you know, I guess different practitioners and different, you know, witchcraft covens and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I was in there at the age to be snatched up at. In fact, you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just had a Hawkeye mother, right? And so that wasn't cracking.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was not gonna happen. Yeah, but a lot of people, a lot of crazy stories, right, around how and why it was done. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely heard a whole lot about I mean, yeah, man, it's interesting, you know. I think though, moving in the future,
I
maybe not.
can tell you this though. I can tell you this. In that basement where we lived, when there was you know, you have a three-story, like 3-story kind of apartment complexes, and then there's a
Like a
basement, like
townhome.
yeah, but it's
Yeah.
you know, it's was 3 apartments, 3 townhomes, but on the basement, we went in there and yeah, it was a pentagram on the floor, um, chairs and stuff centered around the circle. It's crazy, and I remember as a child, so I can imagine, you know, what
You
was
know,
really going on.
yeah. I mean, I wasn't definitely, you know, my people wasn't down in Atlanta at the time, but I could tell you that, you know, that was real big in Cleveland too. You know,
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of Wiccan people in the, you know, and stuff like that. A lot of that energy. I remember, especially when, because you remember when Bone Thugs and Harmony came out.
Mhm.
You know, the whole vibe that they was on. The Ouija boards were big in Cleveland back then.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
Bone Thugs.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying anybody in Wiccan's bad, good, or anything like that, but I just
No, no,
know
no. We
that
just,
in that area, you know what I mean? Because I know a few of our practitioners practice Wiccan. Um,
yeah,
but you know, you got good and bad in everything. So
yep. It's a hand. You know, so you shake
exactly.
somebody's hand in something, or you can punch them.
Right.
You know,
Indeed.
indeed, indeed. But outside of that, I really don't have any other questions. We did have another Patreon suggestion. And by the way, today's show is a Patreon show. So, you know, when you see, you know, how this is, you know, broken down this show, you know, it should, you know, inspire you to want to join the Patreon club. But somebody did want us to go over the Jupiter Saturn conjunction and eclipse on the solstice in more detail. So we did get a request for that. So, you know, just wanted to put that out there. Maybe we could talk about it and see, you know.
Yeah. Well, the eclipse is going to be next this upcoming Monday.
Uh,
The Yeah, this today's the 9th or the 8th. Next Monday will be the solar eclipse. Venus will be entering into Scorpio Thursday. Yeah, but the eclipse is on the 14th, so it's very, very soon. Um, the implications behind an eclipse is, pretty standard. It happens twice a year. It just reveals things that are very much hidden and that are suppressed, right? And so eclipses, they're points that really kind of spin things, right? Rahu and Ketu are kind of like wild cards in Uno, right? And so, you remember play Uno and you slap down that number 4 with the red, green, yellow, and blue, right?
yeah,
And so you would pick a color, right? To say, okay, now and add 4, and this is coming at you. So that's what Rahu and Ketu do. They create wild card situations. Last year we had an eclipse, December 25th, 2019, and that wild card created COVID, right?
yeah.
Um, or not created,
Well, it's
but
already
opened
created,
the
but it,
portal to, right, right,
especially for us over here.
right, exactly. Especially for the United States, being that United States is a Sagittarius ascendant. So, and you can see the ramifications that is still reverberating exactly a year later. The thing about eclipses, the way you understand them is that you look at the number of minutes that it lasts, and that's the number of years that you really can see kind of the effects, or you can at least, even after that number of years, wait to see what changes will come about because of those effects.
Yeah.
So, you know, this year it's in Scorpio. Last year it was in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is broad, right? It grows things, right? It's pervasive, right? That's what Sagittarian energy, the Jupiterian energy does behind Sagittarius. It literally grows, right?
Yeah.
But Scorpio's different. Scorpio folds inside out. That's how I look at Scorpio. The reason why I say folds inside out is this, right? The scorpion is a arachnid for all intents and
Yeah.
purposes. It's related to the spider. And so they have their skeletons on the outside, right? And their innards are soft. And so when you understand the scorpion is inverted, right? He wears his emotions outwardly, right? Even though he suppresses them inwardly. So it
Yeah.
flips you, it turns you inside out, right? It reverses you, right? It causes you to re capitulate what you're doing and go another direction.
Yeah.
It causes you to die to something and to be reborn. So, literally, this particular eclipse is really going to be about us dying to a lot of things that we've become accustomed to. You and I were just talking about the movie theaters, right? Um, just the whole lifestyle that we've been accustomed to for the past. The American way is going to change rapidly. But the Scorpio energy is going to cause us to really have to face some uncomfortable truths, right? Um, Scorpio is the sign that really causes you to look within deeply, right? And so it's going to cause us to ask questions like, is this really important? Do I need this? Right? Is this essential? Right? Is this going to help me grow, or is it just going to keep me stagnant? Those are going to be
Yeah.
some of the hard decisions that we're going to have to make this year.
Yeah.
Um, and being in, the sign of Scorpio, also we look at Mars, right? Mars is in Pisces. You also look at the planet where it's placed during the eclipse, the Lord that rules that sign. And so, phenomenally so, last year it was in Sagittarius and Jupiter was in Sag.
Yeah.
Now Mars is going to be in Pisces at the cusp of Pisces, right? Moving into Aries. And so this shows a great deal of, in fact, I don't think it's going to be Gandanta. I know Mars will be moving into Aries on the 23rd. So if it's 7 days back, it's probably going to be right near to or on the cusp, right? 28, 27, 28 degrees on the 14th, which is a tell-all because that literally is a Gandanta zone. So here's the thing. The eclipse is going to be on a Gandanta point, 28 degrees. No, I'm sorry. No, that's wrong. No, I'm sorry. It's going to be wait a minute. Let me double check that. No, it is on a Gandanta point. It is 28 degrees Scorpio. Yeah. And the reason is because it's a new moon, right? So literally it's at the end of Scorpio, about to be into Sag, because Sun will go right into Sag right after the eclipse. Right. So literally it's going to be right at that Gandanta, 28 degrees Scorpio. 29 degrees is Gandanta. I'm saying 28 degrees is Gandanta as well, because it's a hairline difference. So this is also tumultuous. So you'll have the eclipse on near the Gandanta zone, and you'll have Mars near the Gandanta zone. This literally means that there is going to be major overhauls, right, throughout the year. You'll notice food will be a problem, right? Be prepared for food to be an issue. And the reason why I'm saying this is the food banks, as you can somewhat see, right, are being filled up. There's cars, and I think they're showing Dallas and different cities that their food banks are really, I think even in Colorado, they're becoming more and more popularly used. So this year, definitely, save your money again. And I told you this year is going to be the year of financial astringency. And I don't want to talk too much about the eclipse because we could be here for a whole show on that. But we did mention it in the past. We have covered it to some degree. But the thing is that this particular year is a year that you really want to get rid of old habits, right? Old emotional strongholds, things that literally will cause you, if you don't get rid of them, to take on illness, right? So this is just a year of purging, cleansing, transforming, ridding ourselves of our conditionings. Now, for the by the way, it's a year of loss as well for America because it's in the 12th house for America. I just want to make mention of that. But when it comes to this big Saturn Jupiter conjunction, by the way, folks, you will only be able to see it for about an hour right before sunset on the 21st, right? So take a look, and this is something you will not see, right, for quite a while. But it will literally be visible on the western portion of the sky right before sunset, or an hour before sunset, right? Or right after, right? Excuse me, an hour right after sunset. So you want to be paying attention because you won't see it again, right? Because after that, Saturn and Jupiter will begin to go below the horizon, right? So you won't see them at any point throughout the evening. So this is a big conjunction in that, number one, obviously, it hasn't happened since the 1200s. But being in Capricorn, Saturn is given a lot of domicile and a lot of power in his own sign. And so Jupiter is literally going to teach us some lessons about faith, right? About optimism, right? About being able to see the whole. And it's going to be hard for us for the next couple of years. It's just a precursor for financial astringency. And it's not to the point where, this is the thing that times have changed drastically. So you won't see a Great Depression per se, but you will see a very intense recession, right? I know they're pushing to pass this bill for the stimulus, and it's just another Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Right?
Yeah, because what we're going to witness is, a total shift in the economy. It's going to be, everybody will be impacted, but certain industries will be heavily impacted. You know, and where most of the workers are. Most people now, the new blue collar is retail and food.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, that the new, like, the every day-to-day job now is all in retail and in foods, you know. So you take that out the equation, where all of these businesses have embraced a position of operating without people as much because of COVID, right? And that's not going away anytime soon. Not soon, you know.
No,
That's a
no,
total
not at
shift.
all. It
It's a
is.
total shift.
Yeah. We're leaning towards a cashless society. That will become much more prevalent.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I mean, don't expect to see cash and flow for at least, I mean, it won't return to that same level of flow ever again, where you just exchange a dollar for items. COVID's not going anywhere. People think that COVID is going to just disappear. The vaccines are going to cure it all, and COVID will always be here, right? It'll subsume itself into more of a flu-like type of process where immunities will be built up and things like that. But over time, COVID's still going to be here. The flu is still here, right?
Yeah.
And it's been here for, this is just a new strain of sickness that we're going to have to deal with. And so, that
But
being so, go
they
ahead.
say the Spanish flu is still here. They said that's the common cold today.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And so, I mean, 20, 30 years from now, of course, yeah, it'll be something of the past. But for a while, right, we're going to have to deal with things of this nature. They got something new that just popped out of India. They don't even know what it is yet. So, yeah, 200 people died of it so far. So, it's interesting that we've got all these things just popping out, and then we've got K2 and Scorpio. Because Scorpio is, again, that sign that there's something just pops out. It don't be surprised, because Scorpio is the energy that literally it's co-ruled by K2.
Yeah.
And so it has the element of surprise. It's the natural eighth sign, which is akin to the eighth house, right? So a lot of surprises this year, right? A lot of deaths. A lot of famous people are going to die this year, right? More than this year. So yeah, that's definitely, this is going to be a major financial reset, right? They call it, what do they call it? I think they call it Great Reset or something like that they're talking about. That's going to happen this year, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm not here to bold doom and gloom, because Jupiter will only be in Capricorn until April, and then it'll go into so it'll leave Capricorn in April. It
Yeah.
goes into Aquarius, and then it goes back into Capricorn, right? I believe in June, and then from after June all the way back over again, and then finally back into Aquarius towards I think September, October. So, you know what I mean? I think it might even be November. So again, right, this back and forth is going to be the economy shifting. Well, one thing I can tell you folks is this, right? It's a good thing in the long term, because this is how they're getting rid of the middle class, obviously, right? The middle class is almost gone. It's going to be, it's leaning towards rich or poor, but gold, right? Robert Kiyosaki, I'm sure most people are familiar with him. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right?
Yeah.
He
Yeah. He's
has
big on it.
he has a blog that's talking about that, and doing research and understanding what's happening right now. It makes perfect sense.
Well, he owns a mine.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And gold is purported to be worth $15,000 per ounce within the next 4 years, and it makes
And
perfect sense
yeah,
because
it's
money.
been way undervalued for a long time.
hmm Money's going away,
Yeah.
right? So if you have currency that's going away, the gold becomes even more valuable.
Oh yeah.
So just invest in gold. If you bought 2 ounces of gold, which is $4,000 today, right? You have $30,000 in 4 years. That's exponential. If you buy 6 ounces, you have 45,000. Excuse me, 3 ounces, you have 45,000. Right? 6 ounces, 90,000. So you know what I mean? It's exponential. Invest in gold, right? Invest
Silver.
because it's not going
Silver.
to depreciate. And silver as well, precious metals, right? They won't decrease in value. Warren Buffett, which is a person that was big against buying gold, is buying gold, right?
Hmm.
So, when those people start telling you one thing and do another, you follow what they do, not what they say. So, that's important to know, right? That this next 20 years is going to be literally a financial and economic reshift.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and shift gears and get into today's topic. As I stated before, this is a Patreon requested show, and it's been one that something that's been kicking around in my head for a long time and stuff like that. Just it always hits me like, oh, you know what I mean, like epiphanies about things I've read years ago and stuff like that, and then making the connection and stuff like that. But this is going to be one of those shows that I think definitely will be a classic, and we definitely cannot, get too deep into it in one show for sure. So,
Yeah.
the interesting thing is that I remember I was talking to somebody, and when we were just talking about doing cosmic convos, I was talking to somebody about it, and they were very, 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 very heavy in the church. And and they made a statement like, we're not supposed to do anything with astrology or anything like that, as if it was is a usurping God. It's kind of the the sentiment that was out there. But little do a lot of people know is that the Bible, and in particular the Old Testament, the Torah, right, has an abundance of astrological underpinnings in it. And in
We're going to talk
today's
about
show,
it
that's
today.
what we're going to talk about.
That's what we're going to talk about today. So, today is really to explore, the relationship, the underpinning astrological relationship the underpinning relationship between astrology and the Bible. It's there, right? And it's pervasive. Most people don't know, but we're going to find out today how pervasive it is. But today is just going to cover the Old Testament because we'd be here for a while. I mean, even we're not going to get into all the aspects of the of the Old Testament either. There's just a lot of different astrological innuendos that are there. When you
Yeah.
understand why, right, then a lot of things make sense. So the first thing that we have to look at when we talk about this is culture, right? And culture is what defines a lot of our purviews, our spiritual beliefs, religious beliefs, habits, diet, so forth, right? One of the key elements of culture, right, to understand culture is language.
Yeah.
And language, right, is crucial in that it reveals a lot about the mentality of the culture. Right? Now, the book was originally a Hebrew book. The Bible is a Hebrew book, right? That um, has borrowed a lot from different cultures.
Yeah.
The one thing that people don't realize is that Hebrew, right, is a pictographic language. It's hieroglyphic.
Yeah.
And so knowing that it's hieroglyphic, right, then you can understand, right, that these languages are picked, these words, each letter is a word, right? There's 22 letters in the Hebrew language.
Yep.
And these 22 language letters are Kabbalistically, right, subsectioned. Now, this is not something that most people know, but the 22 letters have 3 sections. The first section is called the mother letters, right? And I want to give a shout out to, while we're here, a brother that I have a lot of respect for in the Hebrew Israelite community, Brother Zion Lex. That's a brother that I definitely acknowledge because there's not many Hebrews that learn to read and write Metanetcher. So, for all intents and purposes, shout out to that brother. Even this brother himself has mentioned that true initiates understand that, you might look at it from a religious perspective, but we know that behind all of them is one source and one true practice. So,
Yeah.
understanding that the Hebrew language is broken down into 3 subsections. First is called the mother letters. Mother letters are Aleph, right, which represents air. You have Mim, right, which represents water. And you have Shin, which represents fire. These are the 3 mother letters, right? Now, of course, breaking it down very simply, you have yin, yang, and you have the in between. You have masculine, feminine, and you have the balance of the two, right? The masculine, obviously, being the shin, the feminine being the mim, and the aleph being the interspace or the interceding between the two, because aleph is air. Now, the next set of letters, right, are called double letters. And guess how many of them there are? There's 7. 7 double letters. And the next letters after that, the remaining, are simple letters. Guess how many of those there are? 12. So we're already on the astrological path with regards to the language itself. Right? Now, many people don't know, some do, that each letter has a numerical value. Right? Aleph being 1, Bet being 2, Gimel being 3, Dalet being 4, and so forth, right? Each one has a numerical value that's assigned. So those numerical values are keys to unraveling certain things within the Bible from a coded perspective. In fact, there is a way to study the Bible called Gematria, right? And Gematria uses the kind of different ways that the Hebrew alphabet is placed or situated to unravel secrets that are hidden within the Hebrew language. And there are many. So when you understand that it's the language itself is, number one, pictographic, it's hieroglyphic. That's why when they say the supreme being spoke it into existence, we're not talking about the English language. We're talking about literally that which comes from the mind of God. In fact, in the beginning of the book, Berashith, which is the first word in the book,
Genesis.
Berashith, right, doesn't mean, right, what people think it means. It literally means in the mind of God, right? This starts. So all of this is the supreme being's thoughts in and of itself. You're the thought of the supreme being realizing itself. So when you understand that those pictures those letters are words, right? And the supreme being spoke, right, things into existence. This is what is meant, right? So when we say, for example, right, Moshe, which is right Moses, it literally means to be drawn out of the water, right? And there's only two times when we're drawn out of the water: birth and initiation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Initiates do go through a purification bath, right? So understanding that, right? Understanding he's an Egyptian and so forth, this makes sense. In fact, that it makes so much sense that that's why you know that the book itself has hidden astrological and esoteric meaning to it. How many days did the supreme being, according to the Bible, take to create? 7, right?
7.
7 is a primary astrological number.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning of the book, and the language of the book itself has astrological underpinnings. So the whole book, right, has astrology in it. You just can't see it.
Yeah.
Now, when you study the Bible, right, you have to usually leave the Bible to really gain insight. And one of the places that we go is called the Sephir Yetzera. The Sephir Yetzera is a Kabbalistic text, right? And so in that particular kind of model, right, the book of creation, that's what the Sephir Yetzera means, the book of creation. In the book of creation, right, they talk about, right, different prophets, different individuals in the Bible that have a lot more astrological underpinnings than you can imagine. In fact, most people don't realize that where Abraham is from, right, the Ur of Chaldees, right, a Chaldean was known, right. In fact, when you look up Chaldean, right, it literally has next to it astrologer, right. So Abraham himself, right, was from the Ur of Chaldees, where obviously these things were practiced. He goes into Egypt where they're practiced. Right? So, you can't escape it, right? And I mean, if your language is formulated this way, those that are initiates or those that are, priests, they fully know.
Yeah.
So getting into the Bible, one of the major themes that we can focus on very quickly and very obviously so, right, are the 12 sons of Jacob. Right. And so the founding of Israel, which Jacob, right, becomes Israel, right, is astrologically, right, set up. People don't know that the patriarchs in the Bible have a very specific correlation to Kabbalah and the tree of life. And so when you understand that Adam and Eve are Adam and Hawa, right? Some say Aish and Aisha. Remember, there's different things in the Bible that are not readily revealed to you, so that you have to. That's why it says study and show thyself approved. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, in the book, right, each patriarch is assigned a particular position on the tree. Right, Adam, right, is the second sphere. Cheva, right, Eve, the mother of the living, is the third. Right, Ibrahim is fourth. Right, it's Yitzhak, right, or Isaac is fifth. Jacob, Yakub is sixth on the sphere, a sixth sphere, on the tree of life,
Mm-hmm.
or in Kabbalah. And the sixth sphere is akin to the planet, the sun. Well, what does Jacob beget? 12
12
sons.
sons. Yeah.
Right? And we all know that the sun, right, makes his station in each one of those 12 tribes' camps. Right?
Yeah.
Now, right? When you understand that each one of these tribes, right, is an astrological sign, and they can't wiggle out of it as much as they try to say that's not true. They know it's true, right? Nonetheless, when you understand the names themselves, they're a dead giveaway, right? Um, one is Gad, obviously, it's Aries, right? And one thing I want you to understand is this as well, that at the time that this was being used, right, this is during the age when we have the age of Taurus and also the age of Aries in play. And at that time, Taurus was actually considered the first sign, right? It wasn't a card. I want to say it wasn't a cardinal sign, but it was a sign in which everything was set up under because that's the age that was in play, right?
Yeah.
And so understanding that, right, the bull becomes, as we mentioned in Kemet, a very important portion of the way we self-govern ourselves underneath the auspices of the heavens. But, right, in Hebrew literature, right, they hide it, right? And so in the story of the golden calf, right,
Yeah.
which was destroyed, right, the age of Taurus is destroyed, right? You're no longer to look towards or look back to the age of Taurus. You're looking forward to the age of Aries. And that's why the ram or the lamb, right, begin to take on such significance. In fact, what did they tell the Hebrews to put on their doorpost when the spirit of death was supposedly floating over Egypt, right?
Blood of a lamb.
Blood of the lamb, right? So again, these are just hidden astrological innuendos, right? The other thing is that when you understand the 12 tribes, right, the priest, the high priest, right, of Israel, right, wears what's called a breastplate, an ephod. And the ephod has 12 gems, right, on it, representing the 12 tribes, right? When you begin to study the gems, right, the gems match perfectly with the signs and the energies that go with the signs. In fact, Judah, for example, which is right, uh, the tribe of Judah, which is connected to the sign of Leo, right, his gem is red colored or ruby colored, right? Which, I mean, this is literally in their scripture, but that red gem is to be connected to the tribe of Judah. So, when you really understand, right, that these underpinnings are there and you can go and explore them for yourselves, it's pretty common knowledge out there. Right? It's pretty obvious, right, that these are astrological things that are hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
And better to tell you not to use it and I use it and be successful than you use it, right? Right? Because that's how the powers that be stay in power, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's so many other things. One of the other things that we can look at in the book are the four holy creatures, the Hayot Kadesh, right? And the Hayot Kadesh, right, speak of four creatures, a man, right? It speaks of a bull, speaks of a lion, and an eagle. Hmm. Well, those are all your fixed signs in astrology. Obviously, the man would be related directly to Aquarius. The bull, Taurus, lion, Leo. And people say, what about the eagle? Well, the eagle is also a symbol of Scorpio. Right? It's the higher symbol of Scorpio, and that once the scorpion or once the individual that is a Scorpio or those energies are transformed, right, you become, right, like the Bennu bird,
Like a
right,
phoenix.
like a phoenix. You rise from your ashes, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at an eagle, the eagle's bottom half is what colored?
It's lighter.
It's dark, black,
Yeah.
and the head is white.
Yeah.
Right. understanding also that scorpionic Hierokohuti type of Ogun black and white truth, right? Or falsehood disposition. So again, right, when you study these things deeper, you see the correlations. So the four holy creatures, which are mentioned in the Old Testament, right, perfectly aligned, right, with this astrological purviews. The next thing that we look at, right, are stories. And these stories, a lot of them, right, have a lot of hidden astrological meaning, but you have to study and know what's what. So one of the stories that I really kind of found interesting, and I've read it as a kid and all that kind of stuff. And I was in Bible study, and I actually was a Hebrew Israelite as well. That's where I learned a lot of this. But nonetheless, the story of Daniel is a very interesting one. Well, remember we said that those tribes, right, are related to the signs.
Yeah.
One of the tribes is the tribe of Dan. Right? And Dan means, right, Daniel, right? Not Daniel, but Daniel, right? Because El is a key part of the name, right? Dan means to judge, right? So the tribe of Dan is the tribe that's akin to Scorpio, just so you know, right? The strength of a judge, right? The ferocity of truth, right? That's what the scorpion brings, right? And so when you understand that, the tribe of Dan or anything that relates to that in the Bible is cluing you in to study the sign of astrology, or that this is some underpinnings that connects to Scorpio. And so Daniel, right, his name Daniel, right, means that God has judged him, or he who God is going to judge, or God judges you, right? Or the judge of God. It's different ways that you can look at it. But it's related to Scorpio. In the story, right, it's clear if you know astrology what's being said. In the story, right, in the book of Daniel, Daniel is traveling to Babylon and Persia with his associates Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? And so when they get there, the king is having some troubles interpreting his dreams. And so there's astrologers. This is in the story. There's astrologers, there's seers, there's magicians that can't interpret his dream. Well, here comes Daniel, right? And he's not considered a prophet or a nabi, right? In the Hebraic tradition, that kind of those things kind of stop with Hezekiah and the previous prophets. But for all intents and purposes, you can say he's a nabi or a prophet because he can prophesy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so his powers of prophecy are able to interpret, right, the king's dream. Now, the king's dream, right, actually talks about the four elements, right? This is astrological underpinning. They say the four kingdoms and you could even talk about 4 ages. I get it. But really, it's the 4 elements that's hidden inside of that conversation. Now, when you understand the scorpion's disposition, one of the powers that scorpion has is the gift of interpretation as far as psychic phenomena is concerned. Especially because, and check it out, Scorpio has the 9th house being ruled by the moon, right? So the moon ruling the 9th house, right, shows that the scorpion literally has the direct emotional connection to God,
Mm-hmm.
right, to the supreme being. Its connection is directly felt, right? That scorpion can attest to this. They feel the supreme being more than they, right, mentally understand it. So for dream interpretation, is an excellent placement because the moon rules what? Dreams.
Dreams.
And so as the scorpionic energy, right, when you get deeper into unraveling it, right, you become a prophet. You become a seer.
Yeah.
And so one of the ways that we know this is what it's saying is that one of the things that Scorpio has to learn is self-discipline, right? Being able to control their emotional, right, pressure points and release valves, right?
Yeah.
Well, what better way to test you than to throw you into a pit of lions, right? Now, most people don't know is that before he was thrown into the pit of lions, he was actually exalted. He was literally considered or brought to high office on high ranking position. Against talking about the Scorpio disposition because they seek power. But when the Scorpio seeks power in a natural, passive, humble way, he's exalted.
Yeah.
He takes power, and we're going to talk about what that looks like as well. Then he's belittled. He's humbled. Right. And so the story, right, literally talks about a lot of things that hit directly into the realm of Scorpio, right? The other thing that is kind of hidden within this is when they talk about years, right? Like you'll see, like Moses traveled 40 years in the desert. Right? Well, guess what? 40, right, is a number that's related to Mim, right? Mim, remember we said Gematria is all throughout the book, right? Like when they say 70 elders or when they say 40 years, right? They're alluding to the number 40, which is Mim. Mim is purification or water, right? So literally, right, when we're talking about this, there's a hidden message inside of this story in that Israel, right, or the kingdom, one of the kingdoms would fall under, right, foreign rule, right, for 70 years. 70, right, in the numeric value of things is ayin, right, which is the eye, right? And scorpions, right, have the gift of what? Insight, right?
Yeah.
Also, the ability to they don't see very well externally, they see very well internally, right? Scorpion as a creature is blind, right? But at night he can see, but he's
Yeah.
not gifted for his eyes, he's gifted for his senses, right? And so literally when you understand that this story ties directly into, right, the sign of Scorpio, right? So, and again, and one of the themes is betrayal, right? When he was actually exalted to the position, one of the people came in and took the position, and that, that form of betrayal, right? Scorpio, right, is plagued with. They have to deal with betrayal in their life, right? So that's just one of the stories that we can unpack to show the hidden astrological underpinnings, right? A lot of them are like this. Another one of ones that really kind of harkens and talks to the same similar theme is the story of Samson and Judges, the book of Judges. And so when you understand the story, right, when you they'll say a little bit, but they're saying a lot at the same time. That's how the Bible works, right? They say a little like precursor or hint, and you should, as a priest or as an initiate, know what they're saying. Not to the uninitiated, it's just a story, right?
Yeah.
But to the initiated, we understand that the story of Samson is a clear and direct indication of scorpionic energies and how to deal with them and what the side effects are. So in the story of Samson, right, and most people don't know that Sam, son, literally means belonging to the sun. Shamesh, the word Samson, right, is connected to the word Shamesh or SMS, the three letters Shin, Mim, Shin, right? Shamesh, right? And so it literally, Samson means belonging to the sun. Literally. So right there, there's a story that's talking about, right, the sun, right? Not SON, but SUN, right? And so when you know that there's a little kind of marker that they tell you things. Number one, he's a Nazarite, right? And who else do we know is a Nazarene in the Bible? Right? Your boy, right?
Jesus.
Good old JC, right? So he's a Nazarene, right? And one of the rules of a Nazarene is can't cut their hair. Right? That's a law that they would observe. But let's talk about it. So in the book, right? Guess what tribe Samson is from? Tribe of Dan,
Dan.
right? So when they say the tribe of Dan, if you're trained in this lore, you know, oh, hey, they're talking about Scorpio here. Let me tune in. Right. When they mention Judah, they're talking about Leo.
Leo.
Right? They're all there. So when they talk about that scorpionic energy, right, the tribe of Dan, right, Dan produces Samson, right? And if you know about astrology, the 10th house for Scorpio is the what? Ruled by the sun. Right. Right. So you know that you're seeing the height of the scorpionic energy, right? Its fullness, its power. The other one was its intuitive abilities, right? Its insight, right? And its ability to face fear. Because one of the things that scorpions literally do in life, right, when they get to self-mastery is face fears very well. Right? They become almost fearless. So that being in the story of Dan, or excuse me, the story of Daniel, now over here in Samson, we're looking at the height and the power of Scorpio. And it's said that Samson, right, defeated a lion with a jaw of an ass. Now, what creature do we all know, right, represents in the sense of being high or low? Which creature on the earth is a fairly low creature? In fact, we use the term, we call people that you're acting like and right.
Yeah.
Right. And so that is considered a creature that is stubborn, right? Won't move, won't budge, won't change, won't go another direction, won't learn from its mistakes, right? But he takes it and smites a lion. And it's a lion, which is another connection to Leo.
Yeah.
Right? Because most people think, oh, well, Samson must be about Leo. No, it's about Scorpio because he's from the tribe of Scorpio or
Yeah.
tribe of Dan. So we're talking scorpion energy here. Powerful, direct, forceful, fearless, transformative, can take one thing and do something else with it, right? This is all Scorpio. Now, Samson has 2 wives, not just one. The first one betrays him, right? The story of the betrayal, the Scorpio's, right? Epithet, betrayal. Now, in that story, Delilah comes later. Everyone knows who Delilah is, right? Samson and Delilah, right? The great story between a man of great power and how he loses this power. So in the story, right, strangely enough, Delilah, and guess what her name? Well, there's 3 letters that are in her name, right? DLY. Now, DLY in Hebrew means a water picture. A water picture. Well, we were just talking about a lion being slain, right? So here is a hidden play on the astrological sign of
Aquarius.
Aquarius. And if you know anything about Leo ascendants, one of the most challenging things they have in life is relationships. Right? Being ruled by the planet, the 7th house, being ruled by the planet Saturn. And Saturn and Sun are enemies. right? So a lot of times the mate can come off as a what?
That's the enemy.
An enemy. And Delilah, right, comes to him and asks him what is the secret of his power. Now she's been hired by the Philistines, right, to come in and try to take the secret of Samson's power. Because Samson was a bad boy, right? He was known, right? I mean, there's other parts of the story that talk about how Samson was kicking butt and taking names, right? He was a judge. Samson was a judge. The judges in the Bible were kind of like Judge Dredd, right? They can roll up on you, right, and take care of business, right? That's what Samson was. He was a king. He's a very powerful leader. And so, being such, right, the Philistines said, you know what, we got to get his power. We got to get his secret. Go on in there and get it. So they send Delilah, right? And there's hidden astrological innuendos in the story as well, even deeper. She asked Samson, what is the secret to your power? And he says, you can bind me, right, with 3 bowstrings. I'm not saying, excuse me. You can bind me, if you bind me with 7 bowstrings, right, you can have my power. I'll be powerless. 7 bowstrings, right? Right. Then, right, he tells her, well, yeah, sorry, I tricked you. If you tie 7, right, bowstrings around my hair, right, my 7 locks, right, and the sun, right, has rays, right, right, then you can have my power. Each time he's telling her the number 7 is key. So he already said he's got 7 locks. He just revealed that, right? So again, this is the sun, the height of the power of the sun, which literally in Scorpio, the 10th house being, right, ruled by the sun, it shows how much power a Scorpion wields. You can't defeat them, right? But he finally tells us the secret. So, well, if you cut one of my locks, cut my hair, right, then I have a problem. So she does so. Well, right, just a sidestep. Hair, right? We don't get hair until when? Right? When does the human being develop hair on his body or her body?
Around 7.
Puberty.
Yeah, puberty. Well, depending on what hair you're talking about, but yeah, puberty.
Puberty, right?
Yeah.
Hair other than the hair on your head, right?
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Anything, right?
On the yeah.
Genitalia, face, right? Underarms, right? Those are all key markers of sexual abilities.
Yeah.
Right. That's key. That's pretty clear, right? That's sexual energy.
Yeah.
Right. So now we know that it really wasn't the hair or about the hair. It's about the sexual energy that comes through the Scorpion, right? Because it's so potent and so powerful, literally can make them like supermen. When Scorpio harnesses their sexual energy, they can literally, they're one of the most powerful people on the planet. For example, Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Right? Perfect example, right? The man could do a 1-inch punch, right? And hurt you, right? That kind of intensity, raw focus, right? So this is what the story of Samson is all about. Now he's betrayed again for the second time, right? And so he's taken in, right? His hair, right? They don't pay attention. His hair regrows. His sexual power comes back, right? And he's able to literally destroy the Philistines along with himself, which also Scorpions can be suicidal or kamikazes, right? And that energy is showing you, but it's also self-redemption. Scorpio is known for self-redemption, right? From coming from such a low state, right, to a state where they can redeem themselves. So this is all about Scorpio, right? Showing clearly that there's astrological underpinnings, right, in this story and many others. So, when you study the book, begin to look at the numbers, pay attention to the names, go get a actual concordance, get yourself uh, uh, um, a lexicon, and begin to study and look at the names. Look at the names. The names are very, very specific for a very specific reason. Those names are put in that Bible to indicate a very hidden esoteric meaning behind something that looks like a story. So do the research for yourself. You'll be surprised on how many astrological, they say, there's only like 3% mentioned in the book. More than that, when you understand that these are hidden things in your face, right? Everything in the book has some. In fact, here's the thing: the Hebrew calendar is astrological. Straight up. They have a whole process to understand when the Passover happens, right? The Passover is decided when Aries tropically, right? Right. I believe it's the second week or the first week of Aries. Don't quote me on that, right? But nonetheless, right, it's astrological. If you have a calendar in some way, you have to use astrology or, well, astronomy, but astrology is going to filter in some way because you're going to see patterns, right? So again, right, this is all hidden, right, astrological innuendos. And when you become, astute to them, right, then you can clearly see, okay, there's something going on here. When we talk about all those people that lived, Methuselah and all those people lived all those years, those aren't real. Those are codes. Right? And if you notice, every tradition, even the Hebrew Israelite tradition, try to have something similar to the Kemetic tradition, because the Kemetic tradition had our great kings living thousands upon thousands of years. The Sumerians had something similar, right? So this is all codes, right? In people, even in Samaria, it's coded. It's not literal, right?
Yeah.
When you become an initiate, there's a exoteric religion and there's an esoteric one. This is the esoteric side, and so when
Yeah.
you begin to unravel it, then you don't take so much offense to the book because you know that it's an initiate's book.
It's like, you know, a good way to look at it is like what a rapper would be in ancient
Mm-hmm.
times.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
the metaphors, the way, I mean, you just think about a poet who's a priest, a high priest, and
Mm-hmm.
what you're putting together, what you're putting down is explaining, you know, your teachings through that perspective. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
you think all these other rappers that got all these, crazy metaphors and stuff like that. Imagine if you was a high priest, what would you, what would you be saying?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, in the book of Job, the Pleiades are mentioned, right? Can you bind the stars, right? Can you, right? I can't think, it was the sweet influences of the And here's the thing: they said the sweet influences of the Pleiades. Why would they say the sweet influences of the Pleiades? They could have said the influences. They could have said the rough influences of the Pleiades. The Pleiades is in Taurus, folks, which is soft, sweet energy, right? So, it's telling you in so many ways. And they say, well, they say you're not supposed to practice it. In fact, there's a book, I can't remember, they have different, you have the Torah, but you also have other books that go with the Torah, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say the Gemara, but don't quote me on that either. But in one of their alternative books, not the Talmud, there it is. That's what it's in. Not the Babylonian Talmud. It's another Talmud. There's a second Talmud. In the Talmud, they say the only way an Israel or an Israeli or Israelite can escape the influences of the heavens is to live perfectly the commandments, right? Which is 613. So if you're not living 613 commandments perfectly as a Israelite, then guess what? You're under the influence of the heavens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, right, understanding that, I mean, even in the book, even underneath their own teachings, they explain, right, that these influences, these forces are real, right? And the thing is, I want people to remember this: the stars do not compel you; they impel you. Two different things, right? You hear us talk a lot about astrology, but there's other things we don't talk about because it's not what the show is about. But you
Mm-hmm.
can take a lot of these forces back under control in your life and redirect them to a positive end. So these things that I'm telling you, but the foretelling, the forecasting is to say, you know what, how can I use these forces to come out on the other side in a better position?
Yep.
Just like a forecast, just like a weather report. If I say it's going to be rainy, well, guess what? Today you might not be going swimming, but if you're
Yeah.
wise, if you planted seeds in about a good month, the water that was produced at that rain will produce fruit,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's never a negative in the sense of whatever's happening. It's always a point of turn or changing or development. And so if you ride the wave, that's how literally you can maximize on these sciences. But there's spiritual sciences that literally can to teach you how to recondition, reconstruct who you are internally to match to match your destiny, right? That's one thing you'll never be able to escape, right? Is your
Mm-hmm.
destiny, but you can live your destiny to the fullest to become a divine being, right? And when you do that, then destiny is under your control anyway.
Exactly. It's like, that test is it's going to be challenging, but you got to take it. How you going to take it though? How you going to take a test? Are you going to cry
Exactly.
and whine
My,
about it, or are
my
you
job
going
is
to?
to say there's a test, right?
Yeah.
It's your job to figure out how you're going to prepare for the test and take it, right? But there's a test
Yep.
coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather be prepared and forearmed and forewarned than to be caught off guard, right, and not have studied, right?
Exactly.
And so, that's what this science is for. It's not to be, um, um, the word fatalistic, right?
Yeah.
That's not
You
it.
can make it that way if you don't. If
You
you're not,
can.
if you, you know, you want to
I
take that
mean, if
route.
I say your grandma's gonna pass, you can't stop your grandma from passing, right? But what you can do is prepare for the funeral,
Mm-hmm.
right? Those things are sometimes inevitable, but you can at least take the brunt of it and be prepared to take the hit and say, okay, you know what? I knew this was coming, right? It's not so mind blowing or not so I didn't get the rug snatched from under my feet, right? It just moved a little. So, you know, that's the difference in how this science is used, right? I know a lot of times people say, well, geez, do we have any kind of control? Yeah, you do over you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Over your responses to the tests and the challenges and here's the thing: God made death lest man not forget him. So when those things come to you, they're for you to awaken, right? Only when you slumber do you get caught slipping, right? When you're sleepy, right? When you're not on your P's and Q's, that's when the astrology can become negative because you weren't looking, you weren't paying attention, the signs were there and you ignored them. That's when it can take a turn for sometimes the worse. But even in that, there's lessons for you to garner to come out of it on a higher octave. So everything serves to further, as they say.
Yeah. Indeed.
Indeed.
Indeed. And whatnot. So, with that being said, this episode was brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group, Caliprucia Astrology, and the good people over there on Patreon. Yeah, man, this is it's an important topic, just in general. Like like you just said, we don't get too far, into the, other aspect, the other side of the utility of the science and stuff like that. I mean, we touch on it, but in order to make it broad and so different people can get a taste here and there, stuff like that. We present it a certain way, but that's definitely the purpose of the science. I mean, if you got something going on with Mars and it's saying that you're gonna go to jail or something like that, and that Mars is gonna make you put your hands on your wife.
I won't go stay at the homie.
you can. There's something you can do about that, right?
Oh, homie, hey, by them coming over, man. It's one of them days, bro. It's gonna be in a moment. It's gonna be a moment. But I mean, the thing is that when I tell you these things are gonna happen, they happen. They happen. It's just, did they really happen, or were they already happening? Right? Did it just happen, or was it already in the motion, right? In the works. That's the real thing behind this, because there's really nothing happens overnight, right? Except disasters and things that you really don't have any control over. Most things are under our control. They are, right? We just don't take control, and so then we ride the wave or get took under. Usually we're in the undertow, and so when we finally get a breath of air, oh my God, right? I don't want to go through that again. And then I get phone calls like, yeah, I told you, right? There's going to be a high and a low, right? When the high is high, that's the time when you do what? Use the high to prepare for the what?
Oh,
For the low.
yep. Yeah, I mean, and back tying it back into the Bible real quick, and then after this we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Is that what people got to realize is that in ancient times most people couldn't read. They were very much so preoccupied with their daily
Survival.
duties, farming, leathersmith, whatever it is that you're doing, metalsmith. You don't have time to be a priest unless you're a priest or priestess, unless that's what you do and stuff like that. So when you get, the way that most people interpret, these texts and stuff like that, it's a product of that. It's like, I don't have to, if someone went through and tried to give you all of those metaphors and what this and that, you would lose the whole the whole nation it would be of no use. So it's like, all right, let me just make it. Let me just, all right, don't even think about that. All right, I'm gonna tell you this like this, so you don't go take that sling blade and go slice off your your neighbor's head.
Absolutely. It's exoteric and esoteric. Yeah, there's different levels, right? And so when you're writing this, right, you craft the higher levels into it, right, so that it's woven, right, like a hidden tapestry. But once you start to unpacking each one of those things, it becomes not only kabbalistically underpinned, astrologically underpinned. There's just different spiritual sciences that are hidden within it, but purposefully so,
Yeah.
because you don't give, right, trigonometry to a child.
No.
Right? And so this would be like, if we were like, you're exactly right. Back in those days, that was like the computer programmers, right? That were of their day, right? Writing in code, right?
Yeah.
And so this code would reveal, right, certain abilities, provided you could unpack the code and apply it and do what it says. So, and if you think about it, it's phenomenal because it's on multiple levels. They have a practical, everyday aspect of it. They have a ritualistic aspect of it. They have a mental or an intellectual, and then they have a spiritual aspect of it. Right. And that's all of the Bible. I mean, they tell you that the Bible has to be interpreted 4 ways to be understood. Right. Which matches our ancestors' teachings, which is Giri So, right? Bolo So, Bene So, and Sodai, right? So I mean, like my brother said, Zion, big ups to Zion on that one, man. That was one of the most profound statements you could have said on Sonnetter, and that initiates know. right? When we meet each other, we can talk behind closed doors and not trip off the Hebrew and the Kemetic and the this, that, and the other, because we know, right? We really are practicing one system with different faces. And so, with that being said, right, I bid you all, right, to please get yourselves those types of tech books that at least to unpack it for your children, right, and for your family to show that, look, this is not what you think it is. It's something else that's hidden. Right? And then the next episode that we cover on the Bible, we're going to delve into the New Testament, which has even more, right, astrological hidden implications. And so, with that, I bid our audience and people adieu. And my brother, I'm gonna let you take it from here.
Indeed, indeed. So with that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, share this video with your friends, your family, share with your enemies, man. Whoever you got, share with everybody and stuff like that. So we can take this thing to the next level. And I thank you all for tuning in. And we will be back next week, same time, same place. Another great episode. All right. That being said, we're out. Peace.
Peace.